their 50th anniversary. And I didn't really watch the show. I'll be honest with you. I always, I saw some clips and stuff, and, it was nice. It seemed like, whatever. I will say, one thing that I think Bowen Yang should be ashamed of himself. I didn't realize how, I didn't really care too much about when Shane Gillis got first canceled. I know of him. I wouldn't say I really sit here and listen to him like that, except when he's on Protect Our Parks. But, obviously he's funny. He's cool. He seems like a really good dude. Cool dude. I didn't like the whole him getting canceled from SNL for past sketches and stuff like that. What really, looking deeper in the story, Bowen Yang should be honestly ashamed. And the fact that he's getting this pass is kind of pretty insane. He's even kind of admitted to it that he was a ringleader of him getting fired. But what's weird is he was a writer at the time. I don't even think he was a cast member. And he used that situation to elevate himself, which kind of makes him a piece of shit. To kind of, because you want to use diversity and all that stuff, but it's really just for your own benefit gain, and you don't really care about the bigger picture. And you rationalize it by ruining this guy's career over nothing, if we're being pretty honest about it. So I think, and the fact that he's just given this pass when he was asked about it and brought back up, it kind of is just, so it's okay when he does it. But, and I'm not rationalizing, whatever sketches he did in the past, but at the same time, he didn't get him. You being a ringleader to get someone to not even have an opportunity on the show, you're resisting opportunity so you can elevate to give yourself one. I think that's the fucked up part. Anytime you got to tear someone else down to bring yourself up because you have this perceived virtue. And I'll be honest, when you watch sketches and stuff with him involved, he's typically I don't like doing this shit, but he definitely seems like he's forced out there. It doesn't really seem like he meshes well. Like, he doesn't even really seem that likable. I'm going to be honest with you. He seems kind of annoying, prickly, self-indulged. And I know that's a mass characterization for someone I don't know. But at the same time, got to defend my white brothers. I'm kidding. But in all seriousness, he doesn't really seem like he's a natural out there. So you definitely tell it's almost like, hey, is he the best we could put out there? Not really. But if we don't, we fire him, it's more trouble than keeping them. And sometimes there are people like that, You work somewhere long enough, there's always people that this person should have been fired a long time ago. They kind of gave up on this shit a long time ago. They're like, yeah. But, we're kind of short-staffed. The paperwork, the backlash, the potential lawsuits, the discrimination, they're going to, you know what? Just leave them alone, And that's what it kind of feels like, with someone like him, is it's probably more trouble to get rid of someone, even if he's a wink of a show, than it is just to keep them and just kind of place them where you want them at times to kind of minimize the exposure. But the fact that he's given this pass because he's his ethnicity and he's gay, to be honest about it, those are the main factors for why you can't really go after him for it. Because if he was straight and, not even, if he was just white or black, that dude would have been kicked off the show. But because he's like a minority of minorities and he's gay, he was able to kind of use his power as the lowest form in the cast of just being a writer and use that to get to on sketches because it opened spots, And that's kind of fucked up. That's not a way I would want to get on TV spot. I wouldn't, if I was a writer for a show, but I wanted to get on screen, I wouldn't want it to be because I pushed someone out. so I can get exposure. That's not the way you do things. If things happen a way and you happen to get the opportunity, that's one thing. You know, you can't control that. But you leading a charge to get someone off a show so you can guilt trip everyone for you to get on the show, it's kind of fucked up. But hey, what do I know? Life is stranger than fiction. Hey, there's a title of today's episode, Stranger Than Fiction. Actually, I saw the movie Stranger Than Fiction. I saw it a few weeks ago. It is a movie about a man there's a woman writing a book, but she is narrating in his head his life in real time as she's writing a book. And literally everything she writes is going to actually end up happening. And she's literally writing in real time. I think his name's Harold Crick. I think Harold. And she basically, not to spoil it, but she basically writes him to die, in this book. Because in all of her books, the main character dies, whatever reason. And as she's writing, but she doesn't know she's writing about a real human being. But he meets her, and then she tries to do what's best for the story, even if it's for his life, but she feels guilt, and it's this weird thing, It's so absurd, because obviously it would never happen in real life, but it doesn't make you think, how many authors out there, even if they met someone who, if they write the ending the way they do, they will die, how many of them would justify, it's for the story, and there are people that will rationalize that shit too. It's almost like you're making a sacrifice for art. That's probably how someone will rationalize it. It's like, you know what? Can you just give me a broken arm for your art? Does it always have to be like, oh, I get hit by a fucking bus, get completely decapitated? But stranger than fiction. Life is really sometimes stranger than fiction. You can't predict. Sometimes it seems so cartoonish, real life. We live in a world right now where it's pretty cartoonish. We got tariffs of borders. We got this Ukraine stuff. We got, these issues over here. We got people that want to travel in crisis and feel entitled to it. People always care about the world's issues until it affects their travel plan, I want everyone to be able to, immigrate wherever they want to with no resistance. It's like, all right, well, then when you travel to Argentina this year, you got to actually become a full citizen. What? Everyone wants things till it affects their bottom line, But for a storybook, ending, it could be, anything could be rationalized, I guess. But the movie was very fascinating to me. I've never seen Will Ferrell in that type of role before. And also I realize is they don't make movies they're not gonna, it was a good movie. I wouldn't say it was a great movie, but it was fine. But they're never gonna make a movie like that again. Where it's actually in-depth storyline and stuff like that, where it's a patient you go through. It's an enjoyable movie experience. It's not too fast where everything's rushed, but it's not too dragged out either. It seems like now a movie's either an hour and 20 minutes or 2 hours and 45 minutes. There's no in between. The best movies are the ones that are hour 40, hour 55 minutes with an intense storyline and progression, but that doesn't happen anymore. But a movie like that where it's no crazy action, is very conceptual, you're really having to follow what's real, what's in his head, and it requires you to actually be engaged, because it connects to real life matters, but obviously in a fictional type of thing that would never really happen, but you're dealing with real life emotions, if this were to happen. But stuff like that, a movie like that, it's not going to be made. It's not action filled enough. It's too slow. It's this and that. And then the Oscars were on. And the Oscars are so predictable. Like, movie award shows are now so predictable. I'll be honest. Like, isn't it funny how everyone loves and watches movies, but all the movies that are awarded for these big TV shows, for these big shows, the Oscars, the Academy Awards, no one's ever watched like 80% of these movies. They're always like these small niche films that are about, some Holocaust survivor in Saskatchewan, It's like, it's very odd. It's always some dramatic acting type of stuff. It's always something Adrian Brody plays. He plays a deaf pianist. It's like, someone played Abraham Lincoln. It's always a movie that's kind of slow and boring, but it's hidden in the arts, type of thing. And it's always a type of movie that's going to win Oscars now. It's not actually going to be like the Goodwill Huntings of, some people come up in the ranks, make this dynamic movie, the first written movie, and it's just from the heart, and you could definitely tell it comes close from experience. Like, it's almost like a lot of these movies can't be too personally attached to the people that make them. It has to feel so can't be real connection that it almost feels outer space. That's what it feels like a lot of these movies, if that makes any fucking sense. But none of these movies are actually movies that people actually watch in the real world. Like, I've never heard of I've heard of A Real Pain with Eisenberg and Kieran. I never it's not anywhere to fucking watch. No one really watched Wicked. Can we be honest? No one really sat there and watched fucking Wicked. No one really sat there and watched whatever movie Adrian Brody was a part of. No offense to him, he's a good actor, but I don't even know what fucking movie he was in. But all these movies that you hear list, it's like, I've only heard these movies in the past week because these are movies that they keep promoting that are up for nomination. If you didn't know they were nominated, you wouldn't know most of these movies fucking exist. It can be sometimes like that with the Grammys, but now every year it's Kendrick, so you're going to hear it.